Time to time, we get customers that'll email us certain questions, or we just see patterns over the years. There's after 19 years of doing this, there's only, believe it or not, I always say the only consistency with wildlife is there's no consistency, but there is some consistency in the questions and the concerns that you have, and the things that you come to. I hear this, or it sounds like somebody's bowling, or I hear scratching. What does the scratching mean? It's kind of hard to just have someone call and say, I'm hearing scratching noises. We have to really kind of dig in on that. Talk a little bit more. Okay, you're hearing scratching. Where are you hearing the scratching? And it's kind of like those games, where the game gives you, the kids play, it gives them a choice. And every choice turns into a whole nother level of events, or for us, questions, right? Where are you hearing the scratching? Okay, I hear it between it's in the ceiling of my first floor, the floor of my second floor. Okay, so if you understand a little bit of minor construction, not enough to build a house, but you understand what's going on with the exterior walls, interior walls, then it limits what could be in that area. How old is the house? Well, it's an old farmhouse. It was built in the 1800s. Okay, well, that opens up a whole nother thing, because the walls were constructed differently. There was no fire block. There's nothing that stops the basement wall from continuing as a raceway all the way to the attic. Whereas new homes today now, they have fire block. They have, pieces that go between the two floors. I'm not going to get into the specifics of what they call everything. It doesn't really matter. But there's things that, initially will stop you, or stop certain things from getting from one spot to the other, because the hole's too small. If I'm hearing something, if my customer's hearing something in a ceiling above them, and then there's a floor above them, so it's in that empty space. Those empty spaces are typically not insulated between the floors, so that acts as a big bass chamber. So what they think sounds like a horse is probably not. And then we know, because of the age of the house, small things can get in there. So if you're hearing things between those particular floors or interior walls, it's almost always going to be mice. They could have fallen through a shortcut piece of wood, or you have what's called a wet wall, where they'll run their plumbing up, and they might not have used one of the holes to run some plumbing, or same with electrical, so you got a small hole there. Allows mice in. And that's what you're going to hear. And they'll say, well, it sounds like they're bowling up there. Okay, well, if anybody's watched that movie, The Green Mile, and you think of that little mouse rolling that thimble, a lot of times that's what the mice do with acorns and food and, things like that. They will push it with their head, and they'll go along, and your sheetrock is screwed to the strapping that runs the different direction from the joists. So they get to that, and they push it up with their head, and it rolls along, and roll. So that's kind of what you're getting with that. Scratching, it's upstairs, it's cold, it's always in the same spot. I bang on the area and it stops for a little bit, but it'll start in the same spot. Okay, you probably have some bats that came in, and they're hibernating in there for the winter. Bats like to drop their heart rate down. It's not really, there's a big fancy word for it, but it's long and short, it's hibernation. So they're going to drop their heart rate down somewhere around 1 beat per minute to conserve energy stores on the food that they picked up through the year. That area that they picked, they try to stay 50 to 55 degrees to keep a good temperature. But as it gets really cold outside, or it gets really warm outside, something that nature, they'll spread out a little bit, or they'll get closer to control that heat. So that scratching sound always in the same spot. It's probably a bat situation. A lot of times people will hear it around a chimney up in the attic, or if you have forced out air, that opens up a lot more spots where they can be, because they'll lay under the ductwork, and obviously a ductwork has got some insulation on it, but it still emits some warmer temperatures, and it doesn't need to be much for them to keep for what they want to do. So, when customers come to us with a question like that, we try to discern a little bit of that and give them an idea before we even go out what's probably going on, what we're probably going to see. But really, when it comes down to it, I don't care if you have elephants in your attic. It doesn't matter to me. You're calling me to fix it. So my job's to get in there, seal these spots. So, if you have questions like that, if you're hearing things and you're not really sure you want to hire someone to come out, or you want to even go the route of the free inspection part, you're just like, look, I'm hearing this stuff consistently. Should I be concerned? Just reach out. We have text. A lot of people text me. It works great because it's impersonal. I can answer when I can get off the roof, or if I've got my arm in a chimney and I'm pulling raccoons out. It's a lot easier than trying to answer a phone, obviously, than listen to a voicemail that might be left. Shoot me a text. I answer. I'm walking around with two phones. It's ridiculous, like the old school days when the bad guy in the neighborhood had beepers. But this is just for work. So I'll see the text and it's like, hey, you got a minute to talk? Or just a quick question. I'm hearing this. Or what are these footprints in my snow? Or what are these footprints all over my roof? What the heck's going on up there? I can shoot you a text back. I can say, look, this is what I'm seeing. That's what's going on. If you got a minute and we want to do a phone call, let's do a quick phone call. And you're either like, nah, well, we're good. I get that. Or, yeah, I'd kind of like to learn a little bit more of it. It's an informational process. We do a lot more helping people figure stuff out on their own. And in some cases, how to catch the woodchuck, how to take care of your own skunk, how to take care of your own this. So give us a call. Give us a text. And if my arm's not up in a chimney holding a raccoon, I'll answer you. If it is, I'll answer you after. All right? Thanks.